What if self-care stopped being about this extra thing that we're trying to squeeze into our schedules and instead became a healthy, life-giving part of living?
Hi there, I'm Vanessa Kaiser, a ranch girl turned social worker, business leader, and now entrepreneur. I'm passionate about diving into organization, leadership, personal growth, and efficiency. Around here, we call it rhythmic living, that continuous cycle of assessing the season of life that we're in and creating habits, routines, and processes that serve us best. This show is for the busy, the dreamers, the tired, the go-getters, those who want to live fully, grow steadily, and feel inspired each day. Welcome to the Inspiring Heights podcast.
Can I ask you an honest question? Do you ever wrestle with self-care? Like, we hear about it all the time, right? And when self-care was starting to become a more widely discussed topic, it was all about things like heading to the spa for 3 days of uninterrupted mud masks and massages. And then there was this huge pendulum swing. And so now people who speak about self-care from a stage will often open with some kind of line like, self-care isn't about massages and pedicures. It really can just be as simple as reading a book or taking a walk. And then we're kind of left sitting there being like, okay, so does that mean that we're just like swapping out activities that count as self-care? Or do we actually need to readjust our perspective on the topic? If you have spent any time at all around Inspiring Heights, you know that I am all about finding tools and processes that make life a little easier. What can I say? I am obsessed with efficiency. So here's the real scoop. When I first started seeing freeze dryers online, I dismissed them. Too expensive, too big, and what would we even use it for? Seems like an awfully large investment for some freeze-dried bananas. But then as time went on, I started seeing more and more internet friends using freeze dryers in incredible ways, like creating soup in a jar that just needs water to be transformed into a delicious and nutrient-dense meal on a busy night. My curiosity grew, and about 14 months ago, we decided to take the plunge. Let me tell you, this is one purchase I have absolutely zero buyer's remorse for. The freeze dryer has been a game changer for meal prep, saving money, and reducing waste. For example, I can buy a 20-pound bag of onions, chop them all at once, freeze dry them, and not cut another onion for actual months. Sure, freeze dryers might seem like a homesteading trend at first glance. I thought the same thing. But after using the Harvest Right freeze dryer, I am convinced that it is a tool almost anyone could benefit from. Whether it's batch prepping meal ingredients or creating meals that just need water to be ready, this machine makes life simpler and more efficient. If a freeze dryer sounds like the solution for your busy life, check out Harvest Right. They have options to fit different needs and budgets. Visit my affiliate link, affiliates.harvestright.com/2639, or click the link in the show notes. Before we get back to the show, I have one more bit of great news. Harvest Right is running a lovely deal for February. From now through the end of the month, you can get up to $900 off select freeze dryers. Plus, for my listeners, Harvest Right is offering an additional $100 off your purchase using code LOVE100 at checkout. Just follow my affiliate link, affiliates.harvestright.com/2639 and enter code LOVE100 today. I'll link all this for you in the show notes. I spent some time recently looking at the most frequently asked questions about self-care. They're questions like, how do I take time for self-care without feeling guilty? How do I squeeze self-care into an already busy schedule? How do I prioritize self-care without feeling overwhelmed by perfectionism? And as I pondered these questions, I was left thinking this. Maybe you too are wrestling with the idea of self-care and what it actually looks like here in real life. I know I certainly can. I've been in a lot of conversations lately that have involved a longing for something followed by a feeling of not having time to lean into that thing. I want to read more, but I just don't have time. I want to do quiet time each morning, but the things never seem to work out that way. I want to hang out with my spouse, but by the end of the day, we're just too tired. I want to move my body, but I don't have the energy. I want to spend more time in the kitchen, but I'm being pulled in too many different directions. And there in the midst of those conversations, this thought occurred to me. What if self-care stopped being about this extra thing that we're trying to squeeze into our schedules and instead became a healthy, life-giving part of living? See, I think we get confused about self-care. I think no matter if we talk about it as a trip to the spa or a cozy book with a cup of tea on the couch, it's made out to us to be this thing that has to be added to our lives instead of just a way of living. Perhaps this sounds a little far-fetched and maybe a little bit like, oh, sweet Vanessa, if I had the time you have in your day, then maybe self-care could be, quote, a part of living. I know, I get it. It seems a little out there. So let me make a few points to see if I can't convince you of the mindset shift. Point number 1. Let's start with the actual definition of self-care. According to ChatGPT, self-care is, quote, the intentional practice of taking actions to maintain and improve one's physical, mental, and emotional well-being, end quote. So often when we are taught about self-care, it is these activities that are set apart from our normal day-to-day life. The spa or the books on the cozy couch, meditation, etc. But when we actually consider the true definition of self-care, we can see that really anything in life that helps us to reduce stress, live present, care for our spiritual and emotional well-being, our physical selves, that is self-care. And with that in mind, doesn't that just burst open the gates of what self-care realistically looks like? If we have a messy home and that stresses us out, then cleaning our home is by definition a version of self-care. If having a daily quiet time quiets our hearts and helps us to start our day from a posture of peace, then getting up 30 minutes earlier to do it is a version of self-care. And yes, for my spa-loving friends, don't worry. If going to the spa helps to reduce your stress and eliminate that pesky back pain, that too is self-care. But see, just in starting with the actual definition, we can see that self-care really is an attention to our bodies, our hearts, and our minds that we may nourish and nurture them in a healthy way. Consider this with me. If you were to go to the work of planting a huge garden plot, would you then just only water it once a week in the heat of summer? Now, I'm no green thumb yet, but I'm going to go with a hearty no on that. Why? Because the garden won't survive. The plants need daily water in order to produce, just like we need daily rhythms to stay present and healthy. Now, point number 2. Speaking of rhythms, what if our rhythms and routines were a substantial part of our self-care? Well, here's the truth. If we go by the real definition of self-care, the answer to this question is they already are. Washing your face, brushing your teeth, making your bed, cooking breakfast, drinking a cup of tea before bed, doing a quick reset after the kids are all tucked in bed for the night. All of those things are a version of self-care. So maybe the better question here is, what would happen if we started to view our rhythms and routines as self-care? See, sometimes, as evidenced by the most frequently asked questions about self-care, we can look upon self-care as if it's this thing to be achieved, and by extension, it's this thing that we're missing out on. It's a great pawn in a comparison game that we like to play, especially as it relates to that pesky word, busy. Because self-care is held up as this extra thing in our lives instead of simply a way of living, it's easy to get into the throes of a full or demanding season, to look at our neighbor, our spouse, our friends, and go, if only I could fill in the blank. If only I could take 2 hours to go to the hair salon like my girlfriend. She's so lucky that she has money for that kind of self-care. If only I had the time to go on vacation with my spouse like my neighbors do. If only I could sit and read a book like my spouse does after the kids are in bed. What a luxury to read instead of have to do breakfast prep for tomorrow morning. It's easy to look around at other people with the definition of self-care that the world has tried to feed us and assume that they are living a better life than we are because they can afford financially, time-wise, emotionally, etc., to do something that we cannot. But when we see our daily rhythms and routines as self-care, all of a sudden we've changed the game. We too can live a fulfilling life even if we aren't booking weekend spa treatments. Point number 3. The world-taught idea of self-care being luxurious or cozy holds us back from figuring out how to make daily routines and chores life-giving. Sometimes the very things that, by the true definition, are self-care don't feel super life-giving. Though I love having a tidy house, putting a laundry away does not always feel like self-care, okay, sis? I really do not enjoy doing laundry. It's never been one of my favorite chores. It's nothing like the joy of cleaning a kitchen or vacuuming carpet. But nonetheless, it is a chore that needs done if A, I want clean clothes to wear tomorrow, and B, I don't want to sleep with loads of laundry on my bed. Because let's be honest, that was so pre-marriage, Vanessa. So here's what I've learned about chores that I don't love. I can choose to begrudge them, or I can choose to bring some life to them. For example, when I'm doing laundry, I will now either Marco Polo with a girlfriend or watch a show, usually Gilmore Girls. These small shifts allow me to not dread this not so fun, but also necessary, and when it's over, life-giving chore. See, when we lay down our need for striving to squeeze in self-care, and we can look at our daily chores as such, we have more headspace for considering how to make them a little bit more fun. When we aren't rushing to get through kitchen duty just so that we can check off that bubble bath self-care for the day, we can learn to put small practices in place during kitchen duty that bring us joy. This isn't about faking a love for a task that we hate. It's about actually bringing some real enjoyment to the chore. Do you ever wish there was a natural, science-backed way to ease aches, boost your mood, and even support healthier skin? I felt the same way until a friend introduced me to LumiBox. Not too long ago, I was venting about long-time ankle pain to one of my girlfriends, and she encouraged me to check out LumiBox, a red light therapy device. She brought it with her for a girls' weekend because this is what it's like to be in your 30s, my friend. I gave it a whirl, and after just a couple of days, I can honestly tell you I was sold. That was the beginning of my journey with this incredible tool for holistic health. Now, LumiBox is a Kaiser family favorite. We use it for everything from soothing aches and eczema to giving our mood a gentle lift on tough days. Here's the deal. LumiBox harnesses the power of red light and near-infrared wavelengths to promote healing deep beneath the skin. Backed by science and loved by so many, it's a simple, natural way to support your mind and body. And for a short time only, LumiBox is offering my listeners an exclusive $260 discount. Just visit LumiBox.com and use the coupon code INSPIRINGHeights at checkout. Don't wait, this could be your next step towards holistic health. I'll put the link and the coupon code in the show notes. Point number 4. Making time for the things that we love is also self-care. I wonder how many of my friends are listening to me demolish some of our conventional ways of thinking about self-care right now and are asking this question. Does that mean that I can't take a bubble bath or book a weekend away for self-care anymore? I am actually not advocating that these things are not to be considered self-care. They are by definition, aren't they? Do they care for your physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental health? Well, okay then. But isn't it great to acknowledge that these things, once boxed up and set aside as the end-all be-all goal for self-care, are actually just hanging out in the same bin as doing the dishes, finishing the laundry, and setting down your phone to actually connect with your husband? These things that we love to do, read, take long hot showers with our favorite essential oils, get lost in a good TV show, go on long silent walks alone, jump into the story with our favorite fictional character in a book. They're not bad. But if the only care that we get to name for ourselves are those things, then we're not caring very well for ourselves all that often. Because while bubble baths are an absolute delight, they don't happen all day every day, right? Whereas our rhythms, routines, daily chores, and tasks, they do happen every single day. And if your house is anything like mine, you're going to get at least 3 opportunities to do some of them each day, like the dishes. Point number 5. When we get good at self-care, we serve others well by showing up as our best selves. When self-care really started trending when I was in college, the message was, if you do these things to care for yourself, you will be better able to serve people. After all, you can't pour from an empty cup. And what I found is, when I got honest, traditional self-care was fun, but it rarely left me actually fueled to show up as my best self. Sure, I love going to the nail salon just as much as the next person. But when I got home and my house was a disaster, I was still stressed out. No matter how delightful the salon was or how many hours I was there. Taking time away from the office did recharge me, but if I came back to a desk stacked with unfinished projects and an inbox that I hadn't taken time to organize in months, the stress came flooding back as soon as my computer had finished its reboot. But when we start to pay attention to what actually brings calm, clarity, peace, a sustainable pace, and joy to our everyday lives, not just those one-off big self-care weekends, we will start to feel refueled each day. We will start to feel like ourselves instead of stressed out zombies because we can't see the forest through the trees, the desk under our mess, or the sink behind those pile of dishes. We will start to be able to serve those around us with purpose and joyful hearts because we now have the energy to do so. I would go as far as to contend to you that when we flip self-care on its head, we will start to see that caring well for our bodies, including our hearts, our minds, and our physical bodies, our spaces, and our people, when we do participate in those out-of-the-ordinary things, we'll enjoy them even more because we are caring well for our life before, during, and after. I want to wrap up this conversation with abundant clarity. I am by no means prescribing that if we start to do our dishes more frequently, stop grumbling when we do the laundry, and believing that our face washing routine is as good as a spa facial, life will suddenly become all sunshine and roses. What I am suggesting is that if we will stop limiting our belief that self-care is only about out-of-the-ordinary measures that focus solely on treating ourselves, and instead begin to view self-care as anything that we do to care well for our physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional well-being, we will experience the rest and rejuvenation that self-care promises. And the best part is that then from that rested place, we can feel like us, show up as our best selves, and serve those around us well. Self-care doesn't just impact us, it impacts everyone around us. So by all means, go and fill that cup. Just remember, tonight, maybe that looks like doing the dishes instead of booking a getaway to that all-inclusive spa in the mountains. And that is beautiful too.
And that's a wrap. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Do you have questions, comments, or insights on today's content? I would love to hear from you. You can DM me on Facebook or Instagram, or head over to our website, inspiringheights.org, and click on the Contact Us form. I will link all those locations here in the show notes. P.S. If you haven't already, I would love for you to leave a 5-star rating and a quick review of the podcast. This helps get our content in the hands of new listeners. Don't forget to sign up for the newsletter and follow us on social media for rhythmic doses of inspiration. All right, friends, take a deep breath and be inspired where your feet are. Bye for now.